far more than smash your alibi. Confidence cannot go unfounded, and my foundation... Tell me, aren't you and Lynette actually from the House of the Hearth?
The House of the Hearth?
No wonder they did something like this.
So the serial disappearances were the Fatui's doing. Now,
I've got a feeling that what happened on stage probably wasn't just an accident.
That's irrelevant. Our identities have nothing to do with what happened.
Indeed. Then your first priority is to prove yourself innocent after all. I'm sure there is little that needs to be kept secret now. Unless your script already has holes in it. The Outlander is speechless. My, oh my, don't they look flabbergasted? Now comes the infighting in Oh, good thing I made all those preparations.
Hey, Linny!
Order! Order! Mr. Linney, allow me to re-establish the facts. Lady Farina has raised 2 points. First, when the thud was heard in the Opera House, you were neither in the... Are these claims? Please answer my question, Mr. Linney.
I'm sorry. Yes, they're true, Your Honor.
I knew it!
Well, that's it. We might as well move on to the sentencing already.
What should we do now?
Granted. In that case, what is your request?
Is that really necessary?
The defendant deceived their own attorneys. What is there left to do?
Order! Order, I say! Your request is reasonable, and we shall adjourn.
So, in that case, my dear audience, let's...
Well, this is awkward. I didn't think the Hydro Archon would dig all that up. I'm sorry.
Yeah. We based our entire... not to set the wrong tone.
I'm very I know you've clashed with, but our organization...
Right now, we want to say...
That's right. I knew if it weren't for our... That's why I didn't... The truth is very important, but being completely transparent about everything would... Right. So, you be the judge. Heck, if I were you, I fear that I'd even struggle to trust me at this point. You met a Fatus who works, but still, I'm...
Sorry. Well, you both say that, but... Right, let's...
Of course. We've been trying to find out how the Oratrice operates. We want to know why it has a consciousness. Why can it deliver sentences accurately? During our investigations, from that moment on, Lynette and I have been
Is that why you needed a whole...
That's right. So, after
That air vent was created during the
Well, what should have been a... That voice seemed to wreck on the way back. After that...
Well, that explains why you didn't hear the thud.
Because of that prophecy
That's the only way we can...
So, there you have it. The whole truth. It was never my wish to proceed, but like I said earlier, you can be the judge. If you want to leave because you don't trust the Fatui, there's nothing I can do to stop you.
Well, Traveler, you decide. Paimon will follow your lead however you choose.
Okay.
Thanks for giving us a
The current problem is that if we want to refute the Hydro Archon's accusations, we're gonna need a seriously watertight defense. Huh? Whoever the murderer was... Why would it... Doesn't seem... That size wouldn't have been a problem for Paimon. We all heard that noise, didn't we? Wheel of Life.
Both parties have returned to their positions. Let us continue the trial. When last we left off, Mr. Linney acknowledged the new evidence presented by Lady Farina as fact. Therefore, Lady Farina may continue stating her reconstruction of the...
At this stage, let's revisit that scene from Linney's perspective. As the countdown began, he entered the tunnel. When the flatbed trolley passed, he opened the box and got into an altercation with Halsey, which caused the loud thud. He did not realize that this sound could be heard by everyone in the opera house, which is why he claimed earlier that he could not hear the sound. Finally, he used the vase to knock her out, before making her change clothes to prevent others from recognizing her. At this time, Cowell arrived in the tunnel, having heard that strange noise, and caught Linney red-handed. So Linney proceeded to knock him out too before stuffing him into that box. Afterward, Linney passed the unconscious Halsey to his accomplice through the magic box in the audience stands, before operating the devices such that Cowell's death would be ruled an accident. And there you have it. That's the truth behind what happened.
Does the defendant's side have any objections to Lady Farina?
The key to refuting. Linney did not take part in the underground altercation. He only witnessed traces of the aftermath. Seems this won't produce a particularly effective rebuttal. Seems this won't produce a particularly effective rebuttal. According to Linney, he left via the vent after entering the tunnel. He couldn't have had that altercation with... Seems this won't... Linny went to the room that contains the Oratrice's core. This is the actual truth.
Attention! Ace Detective Paimon has something to say! When the countdown started, Linny did indeed go into the tunnel. But he immediately used a vent to access the Opera House basement, which is where the underground core of the Oratrice is stored. Once he reached that area, he heard a voice in what should have been an empty room. Since he felt something was amiss, he returned immediately. The crime scene had already developed by the time he reached the tunnel again, and in order to complete the magic trick, he did not remain there for any length of time. Finally, he reached the surface, and that was when the accident happened from his point of view. Therefore, he's innocent!
You believe that he knew nothing of the incident?
That's right!
My reasoning?
If that's the case, then if Cowell hadn't entered the tunnel, assuming that what you say is true, Linny only needed to kidnap the young girl to cause a new disappearance case.
Oh.
That's right, you tell him! And that's why they're partners of mine. They've managed to turn things around. Oh, well, your denial is very strident. I'll give you that. Of course I do. If he... You're saying that he wasn't?
Are you sure we don't need to give this more thought? Paimon? That's right! Linny wasn't in the box. This means that the same clue you used to disprove his...
What? To think you'd use such logic. Well then, if it wasn't Linny who committed the crimes, then who was it?
The deceased's name is Cowell. Linny's... Could there have been a third person involved? Halsey is the missing person. Could there have been a third person involved? Is that real? The deceased's name is Cowell, Linny's assistant.
That can't be right. Are you serious? The killer?
Oh!
What I must do next is recreate the truth. What Cowell did. and how he went from would-be perpetrator to victim. Linny was not in the tunnel at that moment, which gave our criminal ample time. The deceased's name is Cow. Halsey's clothing was in... The sound we heard may have come from a... The sound we heard may have... Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel. No one entered or left the opera house. The sound we heard may have come from a clash between them. Halsey's clothing was in... The deceased's name is... No one entered or left... No one entered or left the opera house through... It would have been tough for both people to fit in. Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel. The sound we heard may have come from a clash between the missing Halsey and the criminal. No one entered or left the opera house through its entrances. So where would the criminal have wanted to take Halsey? It would have been tough for both people to... The deceased's name is No one entered or left.
What's wrong, Traveler? Are you...
I see how it...
Look, since we're at a dead end, just like the trick as it transpired, the end result must have been utterly different from the magician's initial design.
If only we knew how Hal...
Well, that would be nice, but the tunnel... And it's not like this is a magic trick.
Excuse my interruption, dear.
If the defense is unable to make further effective arguments, we will move on to the next stage of the trial.
Linny was not in the tunnel at that moment. The sound we heard may have come from a cloud. The deceased's name is Cow. It would have been tough for both people to fit into that vent. They would likely have bumped into Linny as well. Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel, so there must have been some fear that she would attract attention. No one entered or left the opera house through its entrances, so where would the criminal have wanted to take Halsey? The vase was not broken by chance. It was used to cover important evidence.
Lynette escaped from the water tank, vanishing If there's a similar method where a person could be
Oh, just a moment, please. How could a person ever be transformed into water? Must we really? I should think that of anyone. Your friend Linny. Magic tricks are ultimately just illusions and misdirection. But Halsey's disappearance is very real. We're talking...
Even so, I trust the Traveler's judgment. The truth must be out there somewhere. Perhaps some new line of... Since Cal was the deceased, we haven't placed much attention on him. But given that we aren't making much progress with the...
People really do come up with all sorts of harebrained schemes when at the end of their rope. The way I see it, Your suggestion that we broaden the scope of our investigation is nothing but a tactic for stalling the trial.
Nevertheless, I believe that this is a reasonable request on the part of an attorney. Since the trial does indeed appear to be at an impasse, I believe that... Guards, please...
We are still examining the items. We discovered several test tubes of fluid with it. The notebook in his back, the primordials. The note's contents also. The notebook has many, and one of these tubes with the notes also stick. As such, we will.
You gotta be kidding!
But something so ridiculous.
Wait a moment. This reminds me of a certain.
If people can become water, does that mean that the Wait just a minute. Could that mean... You two!
Demoiselle, wait! What about your partner?
Let's go. Just trust me.
Order! Order! It is undeniable that further examination of the deceased's... Still, guards, Mr. Linney.
Of course. If we uphold the...
Right! Like the metal hook! Let's think about this. Cowell's methods must have something to do with that water from the primordial...
The rope that held the water tank up was lit by the fireworks and snapped. As... The water from the primordial sea should already... Lynette was in the magic box on stage the entire time. Did she have something to do with this? The deceased's name is Cowell. Now it seems like the hook rope... I remember there was something else within the inner layer of that box.